Let me ask you something. How do you currently measure your worth at work? If you're like most people, you probably think in terms of your hourly rate or your annual salary divided by the hours you work. You show up at 9, leave at 5, and you get paid for those 8 hours. Maybe you even feel guilty leaving early, or feel proud when you work late because more hours equals more value, right? Wrong. This is the fundamental trap of the employee mindset, and it's keeping you stuck. When you trade time for money, you've created a ceiling on your earning potential because there are only 24 hours in a day. You can only work so many hours, which means your income is forever capped by time. But here's what CEOs understand that most employees don't. Value isn't created by time spent, it's created by problems solved and results delivered. A CEO doesn't think about how many hours they work today. They think about what they accomplished, what value they created, what problems they solved for customers, what revenue they generated, what strategic decisions they made. Let me give you a real example. 2 marketing professionals work at the same company. Employee A comes in every day, works diligently for 8 hours, completes all assigned tasks, stays busy, and never complains. Employee B might only work 6 focused hours, but in that time, she identifies a major gap in the customer journey, proposes a solution, implements a new email sequence that generates an additional $50,000 in revenue per month. Who's more valuable? Obviously employee B, even though she worked fewer hours. She created measurable value. Here's your action step. Starting today, stop measuring your day by hours worked and start measuring it by value created. At the end of each day, write down one sentence. Today I created value by, and complete it with a specific measurable contribution. Did you solve a problem? Did you improve a process? Did you help generate revenue? Did you save the company time or money? Did you improve customer satisfaction? This simple shift in how you measure your own worth will completely transform how you approach your work, and more importantly, it will transform how others perceive and compensate you. Here's a scenario that plays out in offices everywhere, every single day. A problem emerges, something isn't working, a customer is unhappy, a process is broken, a deadline is at risk. The employee mindset immediately looks up the chain of command and asks, "What should I do? What do you want me to do? Who's responsible for fixing this?" They report the problem and then wait for instructions. They've done their job by identifying the issue, and now it's someone else's responsibility to solve it. This is reactive thinking, and it's the clearest signal of an employee mindset. Now watch what someone with a CEO mindset does in the exact same situation. They see the same problem, but their first instinct isn't to ask for direction, it's to take ownership. They think, what needs to happen here? What are the possible solutions? What can I do right now to move this forward? They don't wait for permission to think strategically or to propose solutions. They come to their manager, not with a problem and a question, but with a problem and 3 potential solutions along with their recommendation on which solution makes the most sense and why. Do you see the massive difference? One person positions themselves as someone who needs to be managed, while the other positions themselves as someone who manages situations. One creates more work for their boss, while the other makes their boss's job easier. And here's what's interesting. Taking ownership doesn't require authority or a fancy title. You can do this from any position. I've seen entry-level employees demonstrate more ownership than senior managers, and guess who gets promoted faster? The person who acts like a leader before they have the title. Let me share a powerful example. An administrative assistant noticed that her company's onboarding process for new employees was chaotic and confusing, resulting in new hires taking weeks to become productive. She could have just complained about it or mentioned it in passing. Instead, she took ownership. She documented the current process, identified the gaps, interviewed recent new hires about their experience, created a comprehensive onboarding guide, and presented it to her manager as a completed solution. Within 6 months, she was promoted to operations coordinator. Why? Because she demonstrated leadership through ownership. Your action step is this. In the next meeting you attend or the next problem you encounter, practice ownership thinking. Before you speak, ask yourself, am I just reporting a problem or am I bringing solutions? Come prepared with at least 3 possible solutions to any problem you raise and make a recommendation. This single habit will transform how people see you and will accelerate your career faster than almost anything else you can do. Let's be honest about something. Most employees are terrified of making mistakes. And it makes perfect sense why. Your job is your income. Your income pays your bills, and your bills determine your survival. So the safest strategy feels like keeping your head down, doing exactly what's asked, not rocking the boat, and definitely not taking any risks that could backfire and cost you your job. This is the employee mindset around risk. Avoid it at all costs. Play it safe, stick to what you know works, don't volunteer for anything outside your comfort zone, and definitely don't propose anything bold or unconventional. The problem with this approach is that it guarantees mediocrity. If you never take risks, you never grow, you never stand out, and you never create the kind of breakthrough results that get you noticed and promoted. Meanwhile, people with CEO mindsets understand something completely different about risk. They know that calculated risks are the pathway to extraordinary growth, and they know that in today's rapidly changing world, playing it safe is actually the riskiest strategy of all. Companies that don't innovate die. Careers that don't evolve stagnate. Playing it safe means you're standing still while the world moves forward, and that's dangerous. But here's the key word: calculated. CEOs don't take stupid risks or gamble recklessly. They assess potential downsides, consider the probability of success, think about what they'll learn even if they fail, and then they make informed bets. They understand that some risks are worth taking because the potential upside far exceeds the downside. Let me give you a concrete example. An employee at a software company saw that their customer support process was inefficient and frustrating users. But the safe thing to do was nothing, because proposing changes meant challenging the status quo and potentially upsetting the support manager. The risky move was to spend 3 weeks of her own time researching best practices, building a prototype of a better system, and presenting it to leadership. What if they rejected it? What if the support manager got defensive? What if she wasted 3 weeks? But she took the calculated risk. Leadership loved it, implemented it, customer satisfaction scores increased by 30%, and she was promoted to head a new customer experience team. The risky move became her breakthrough. Your action step is to identify one calculated risk you can take in the next 30 days that could accelerate your growth. Maybe it's volunteering for a challenging project outside your expertise. Maybe it's proposing an innovative solution to a persistent problem. Maybe it's asking for a stretch assignment. Maybe it's starting a side project that develops new skills. Whatever it is, assess the real downside, and if it's acceptable, take the risk. Growth lives outside your comfort zone. Here's how most people operate at work. They have a job description, they have specific tasks and responsibilities, and they focus exclusively on doing those things well. If you're in accounting, you focus on accounting. If you're in sales, you focus on sales. If you're in customer service, you focus on customer service. You stay in your lane, you master your specific function, and you assume that excellence in your narrow domain is the path to success. This is specialist thinking. And while there's nothing wrong with being good at your job, it's a limited mindset that keeps you from reaching the highest levels. CEOs think completely differently. They don't think in silos or departments, they think in systems and strategy. They understand how every part of the business connects to every other part. They know that a decision in marketing affects sales, which affects operations, which affects finance, which affects customer experience, which feeds back into marketing. They see the big picture, they understand the business model, they know what drives revenue and profit, they think about competitive positioning, market trends, and long-term strategy. This strategic thinking is what separates high-level leaders from functional specialists. And here's the exciting part. You can develop this thinking regardless of your current role. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. 2 software engineers work at the same startup. Engineer A is technically brilliant, writes excellent code, completes all assigned features on time, and never thinks beyond the engineering department. Engineer B is also technically skilled, but she does something different. She attends company all-hands meetings and actually pays attention. She asks questions about customer acquisition costs and conversion rates. She learns about the sales process and what features prospects ask for. She understands the company's business model and revenue goals. She reads the competitive landscape and thinks about product positioning. Because she understands the bigger picture, when she makes technical decisions, she makes them with business context. She prioritizes features that drive revenue. She advocates for technical investments that support strategic goals. And she communicates with executives in language they understand, connecting technical decisions to business outcomes. Who do you think gets promoted to engineering director? the specialist who codes well or the strategic thinker who codes well and understands the business? Your action step is to start learning about your business beyond your job description. Schedule coffee with colleagues in other departments and learn what they do. Read your company's financial statements if they're available. Understand your business model. How does your company make money? What are the unit economics? Who are the customers and what do they really value? What are the biggest strategic challenges? Attend company meetings with curiosity rather than just waiting for them to end. This broader understanding will transform how you think, how you communicate, and how you're perceived by leadership. Let's talk about what you do with your time and money outside of work, because this reveals a fundamental mindset difference. Most people operate as consumers. They work 40 to 60 hours per week, they get paid, and then they consume. They buy things, they enjoy entertainment, they spend on experiences, they fund their lifestyle. Their entire life equation is work to earn money, then spend that money on consumption. There's nothing wrong with enjoying life, but if that's your entire equation, you're stuck in the employee mindset loop forever. You work to consume, which means you need to keep working to keep consuming, which means you never build leverage or freedom. CEOs and entrepreneurs think completely differently. They're builders. They don't just earn and spend, they create and compound. They're constantly asking themselves, what can I build that creates value beyond my direct effort? What assets can I create that grow over time? What systems can I develop that work for me even when I'm not working? This might be building a business, building a team that multiplies their impact, building investment portfolios that generate passive income, building content that reaches thousands of people, building products that solve problems at scale, building relationships and networks that create opportunities, or building skills and expertise that become increasingly valuable. The key distinction is this: consumers exchange time for money, and then money for temporary pleasure, while builders create things that compound and generate value over time. Let me give you a practical example. Two graphic designers both earn $60,000 per year. Designer A spends her evenings watching Netflix, her weekends going out, her money on the latest gadgets and clothes. She's a skilled designer, but in 10 years she's still a skilled designer earning $75,000 because she hasn't built anything beyond her job skills. Designer B does something different with her extra time. She spends 3 evenings per week building her own design template business, creating and selling templates online. She spends weekends learning about marketing, business, and automation. She invests 20% of her income into index funds and learning. She builds an email list by sharing design tips and tutorials. 5 years later, her template business generates $3,000 per month in passive income. Her investment portfolio has grown to $50,000. She has 15,000 email subscribers, and companies are approaching her for consulting at $200 per hour. Same starting point, completely different outcomes because one consumed while the other built. Here's your action step. Identify one thing you can start building this month that could create value beyond your direct effort. This might be starting a side project related to your skills, creating content that showcases your expertise, learning a high-value skill through deliberate practice, building a professional network systematically, or investing consistently, even if you start with small amounts. The key is to shift some of your time and resources from pure consumption to building something that compounds over time. There's a belief that many employees carry that silently sabotages their entire career, and it sounds something like this: I'm just not good at that. That's not my strength. Some people are naturally talented at this stuff, but I'm not one of them. I'm too old to learn that now. It's just not who I am. This is what psychologists call a fixed mindset, the belief that your abilities, intelligence, and talents are static traits that you're born with and can't significantly change. If you're not naturally good at something, you assume you never will be, so why try? This mindset creates an invisible ceiling on your growth because you avoid challenges that might expose your limitations. You give up quickly when things get difficult. You see effort as fruitless if you don't have natural talent, and you feel threatened by the success of others because it highlights your own limitations. CEOs and top performers operate with what's called a growth mindset, the belief that abilities can be developed through dedication, effort, and learning. They believe that intelligence and talent are starting points, not end points. When they encounter something they're not good at, they think, I'm not good at this yet, and they see it as an opportunity to grow rather than a permanent limitation. This mindset completely changes how you approach challenges. Instead of avoiding difficult tasks, you seek them out because that's where growth happens. Instead of giving up when things get hard, you persist because you believe effort leads to improvement. Instead of feeling threatened by successful people, you study them and learn from them. Let me show you this in action. Two managers are told by their CEO that the company is implementing a new data analytics system and everyone needs to become proficient in data-driven decision-making. Manager A has a fixed mindset. She thinks, I've never been good with numbers and data. That's just not my strength. I'm more of a people person. I'll just delegate this to my team members who are better at it. She avoids learning the system, makes excuses, and becomes increasingly irrelevant as the company becomes more data-driven. Manager B has a growth mindset. She thinks, I don't know much about data analytics yet, but I can learn this. It might be uncomfortable at first, but that's how growth feels. She takes online courses, asks colleagues for help, practices with the system daily, makes mistakes and learns from them, and within 6 months, she's not just competent, but actually discovering insights in the data that improve her team's performance. 2 years later, Manager B is promoted to director, while Manager A is struggling to remain relevant. Your action step is to identify one area where you've been telling yourself, I'm just not good at this, and reframe it as, I'm not good at this yet, but I can develop this skill. Then commit to 30 days of deliberate practice in that area. Maybe it's public speaking, maybe it's technical skills, maybe it's strategic thinking, maybe it's negotiation. Choose one thing, commit to learning it, embrace the discomfort of being a beginner, and watch how your belief in your own growth potential transforms everything else about how you approach your career. Most employees operate with a fundamentally short-term orientation. They think about what they need to do today, this week, maybe this quarter. They focus on their current tasks, their next paycheck, their upcoming performance review. When they think about their career, it's usually about the next immediate step. How do I get a raise this year? How do I get promoted to the next level? How do I survive this busy season? This short-term focus makes sense because immediate pressures feel urgent. Bills need to be paid now. Bosses want results now, and the future feels abstract and distant. But this short-term thinking leads to short-term decisions that often undermine long-term success. You take jobs purely for slightly higher pay without considering if they build the right experience. You optimize for looking busy rather than developing valuable skills. You avoid short-term discomfort even when it would lead to long-term growth. CEOs think completely differently. They operate with long-term vision while executing in the short term. They're constantly asking themselves, where do I want to be in 5 years? What skills, relationships, and experiences do I need to build now to get there? What investments today will compound into significant advantages tomorrow? What short-term sacrifices make sense for long-term gains? This long-term thinking fundamentally changes your decision-making. Let me give you a clear example. 2 sales representatives get job offers. Company A offers $65,000 base salary selling established products to small businesses using proven scripts. It's comfortable, predictable, and safe. Company B offers $55,000 base salary, but it's an early-stage startup selling innovative solutions to enterprise clients, which means uncertainty, longer sales cycles, and steep learning curves. The short-term thinker takes Company A because it pays more now and feels safer. The long-term thinker takes Company B because even though it pays less now, it offers exponentially better learning, experience selling to sophisticated buyers, equity upside potential, and skills that will be worth far more in 5 years. 3 years later, the Company A rep is making $70,000 and doing the same basic job, while the Company B rep is making $120,000 as a senior account executive with equity worth another $100,000, armed with skills that make her highly sought after. Same starting point, different time horizons, completely different outcomes. Here's your action step. Take 30 minutes this week to create what I call your 5-year vision document. Write down specifically where you want to be professionally in 5 years. What role do you want to have? What skills do you want to master? What kind of impact do you want to be creating? Manager B operates from abundance. When she discovers something useful, she shares it with the entire department. When colleagues ask for advice, she generously gives her time and expertise. When team members succeed, she highlights their contributions publicly. She regularly connects people who could help each other. She views other managers as allies and looks for ways to collaborate. Who do you think builds a stronger reputation and creates more opportunities? Manager A might feel like she's protecting her position, but she's actually isolating herself. Manager B is building a network of people who trust her, want to work with her, and advocate for her when opportunities arise. Abundance mindset doesn't mean being naive or letting people take advantage of you. It means recognizing that generosity, collaboration, and helping others succeed is often the fastest path to your own success. Your action step is this: identify 3 specific ways you can practice abundance thinking this week. Maybe you share a valuable resource with a colleague who could benefit from it. Maybe you publicly celebrate someone else's win. Maybe you volunteer to help someone with a project even though there's no immediate benefit to you. Maybe you connect 2 people who could help each other. Practice giving without immediately expecting something in return, and watch how this shift in mindset opens up opportunities you never saw before. So we've covered 8 fundamental mindset shifts that separate employees from CEOs: thinking in terms of value created rather than time spent, taking ownership instead of waiting for direction, embracing calculated risks rather than playing it safe, developing strategic thinking beyond your specialist role, building assets instead of just consuming, adopting a growth mindset instead of a fixed one, thinking long-term instead of just short-term, and operating from abundance rather than scarcity. Now here's what I want you to understand. You don't need to master all 8 of these shifts overnight, and you definitely don't need to quit your job or start a company to start thinking like a CEO. These are internal shifts that happen first in how you think, and then gradually they transform your external reality. Your actions change, your decisions change, how people perceive you changes, and the opportunities that come your way change. Start with just one shift. Pick the one that resonated most strongly with you, the one where you thought, yes, this is exactly where I'm stuck, and commit to implementing it for the next 30 days. Maybe you start measuring your days by value created instead of hours worked. Maybe you practice bringing solutions instead of just problems. Maybe you take one calculated risk that scares you. Maybe you start learning about your business beyond your job description. Maybe you begin building something outside of work hours. Maybe you challenge one fixed belief about your abilities. Maybe you make one decision based on your 5-year vision instead of short-term comfort. Maybe you practice abundance by helping someone succeed. Just pick one and commit to it fully. Because here's the truth: every single CEO, every successful entrepreneur, every top performer started exactly where you are right now. They weren't born thinking differently. They made a decision to think differently, and that decision changed everything. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't talent, isn't luck, isn't connections. It's mindset. And mindset is completely within your control to change starting right now, today, with the very next decision you make. So my challenge to you is simple. Stop waiting for perfect circumstances. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for someone to give you a better opportunity. Start thinking like a CEO today, in whatever role you're in, and watch how your career transforms. If this video resonated with you and you want more content on developing a CEO mindset, building your career strategically, and accelerating your professional growth, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 8 mindset shifts resonated most with you? Which one are you going to focus on first? Drop a comment below and let me know. Remember, every CEO was once an employee. The only difference is they decided to think differently. Your turn starts now. If this message inspired you, don't forget to hit that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay focused, stay strong, and keep moving forward. Your best self is waiting, and every morning is your chance to meet it.